All right, let's dive straight into this explainer on why a proactive fourth quarter portfolio review is absolutely critical for Kansas City real estate investors. Listen, if you own or are even considering rental property in the KC Metro, you know managing assets from afar requires a totally bulletproof system. Today, we're looking at the specific window of time that can literally make or break your annual returns.
So, you might be wondering, why October? Why does October matter so much more than January? Well, it's pretty simple. If you wait until January to review your portfolio, your lease rates are already locked in, and those crucial tax windows have completely slammed shut. An owner in Denver who only checks in when something breaks, they're setting themselves up for a really painful awakening. By the time January rolls around, the numbers are already set in stone for the prior tax year, and your leases might already be signed at last year's rate.
Okay, here is a quick look at our agenda today. First up, the fourth quarter urgency. Second, closing the rent gap. Third, capital, insurance, and taxes. Fourth, Kansas City-specific deadlines. And finally, prioritizing your portfolio review. Section 1, the fourth quarter urgency. We really need to establish some immediate urgency here because 3 separate financial deadlines land in a very tight 8-week window at the end of the year. Just a quick heads up before we get too deep into the weeds, I want to clearly state that this explainer is strictly educational. It does not constitute legal or tax advice. We're looking at this purely through an authoritative, data-driven lens to help you understand best practices for property management. So definitely consult your CPA or attorney for your specific situation. The big takeaway here is that Alpine runs these 4 exact checks on every single door managed before December 31st. They check the rent gap, assess capital systems, confirm insurance, and prepare tax records. It's a strict door-by-door scorecard. Now, an owner self-managing a handful of properties can actually work through these same 4 steps with just a spreadsheet, a solid rent comp poll, and about an hour of focused time per property. Moving right along to Section 2, closing the rent gap. Let's look at what a property is actually generating versus its true market potential. Now, the number 3 is actually fascinating here. The largest rent gaps almost always appear on leases that have renewed 3 times in a row without a fresh comp poll. Crazy, right? To find your true gap, you literally need to pull 3 to 5 comparables within a 1-mile radius. You've got to match them on bedroom count and condition and weight them heavily toward units that actually leased rather than the ones just sitting active online. If you're just guessing, you're leaving money on the table for sure. You know, relying on a flat percentage renewal bump is pretty dangerous. A rent gap on a Waldo 2-bedroom carries a vastly different dollar value than an identical gap on a Raytown unit. You absolutely have to pull comps from your specific sub-market, not just the Kansas City Metro average. A standard percentage increase might feel safe, but it completely ignores what that exact unit type is commanding in that specific zip code today. I absolutely love this quote from Alpine founder Marcus Painter. He says, "Good tenants buy an owner's attention elsewhere, and that is precisely where the money gets left on the table." Across Alpine's portfolio, and remember, they've been doing this since 2013, they see this pattern every single fourth quarter. The properties with the largest gap are almost never the ones with the worst tenants. Because they're so quiet, nobody looks hard at their comps for 3 whole renewal cycles. It's a silent revenue drain, and you have to actively watch out for it. All right, Section 3, capital, insurance, and taxes. Let's shift our focus to protecting your physical assets. Closing the rent gap is great for revenue, but a surprise capital expense will wipe out those gains instantly. You must check the remaining useful life of specific systems to ensure your property can absorb a full replacement inside the next 12 to 24 months. Age alone doesn't matter. The question isn't whether the HVAC looks fine today. It's whether it's aging toward a sudden failure. Roofs, HVAC systems, and sewer laterals are the 3 components most likely to fail without warning. Trust me, you do not want to be making these decisions in a panic while a tenant is freezing in the dark. To put this risk into perspective, look at this massive number, $1.6 billion. That's what Missouri insurers priced in claims for wind and hail just statewide for 2025. That's exactly why carriers are repricing dwelling coverage everywhere. You have got to confirm your dwelling coverage against a current rebuild estimate right now. Even if your premium looks fine, a policy still carrying a 2019 rebuild figure on a 2027 renewal leaves you severely underinsured. No way around it. Getting your tax bases ready for your CPA in November is just infinitely easier when the invoice is literally right in your hand. A capital improvement placed in service this year depreciates very differently than a standard routine repair that is expensed immediately. You need every repair, mortgage statement, property tax payment, and management statement categorized today. Seriously, do not leave these receipts sitting in a shoebox until April. Section 4, Kansas City specific deadlines.
Let's get hyper-local because real estate is fiercely local. Missing local mail can trigger some really heavy penalties. It is absolutely vital to understand the contrast across the state line. Jackson County taxes and KCMO Healthy Homes permits only apply to properties located on the Missouri side. Kansas side properties are completely exempt from those rules. Alpine serves communities in both Missouri and Kansas, from Independence and Lee Summit all the way over to Overland Park and Olathe. You have to know exactly which jurisdiction your property falls under, because the rules change the exact moment you cross that state line. Just look at these exact dates and the severe consequences that consistently trip up out-of-state owners. On the Missouri side, Jackson County real estate taxes are due December 31st. Miss it, and penalties and interest start accruing immediately on January 1st. The Kansas City, Missouri Healthy Homes rental permit also renews on December 31st. Miss that, and your unit is technically an unregistered rental. And for all properties everywhere, that fourth quarter federal estimated tax payment hits January 15, 2027. Underpayment penalties are no joke.
Finally, Section 5, prioritizing your portfolio review. If you're short on time and managing multiple doors, you need a smart, data-driven way to tackle this. You absolutely must prioritize properties with upcoming lease expirations in the next 90 days first. This ensures you can act on rent gaps before a new 12-month term locks in at the old rate. Once your revenue is secured, immediately check on those aging systems so you can replace a failing furnace before the deep winter freeze actively stress-test it. Doing this proactively is exactly why Alpine maintains an incredible 96% occupancy rate while avoiding major winter emergencies. By completing this structured review, you stop leaving money on the table, you avoid unexpected capital failures in January, and you keep your entire portfolio incredibly healthy. So I'll leave you with this one thought. What hidden gaps are sitting in your portfolio right now, just waiting to be uncovered? For help managing your Kansas City rental property, call Alpine at 816-343-4520 or visit alpinekansascity.com.